I got a Red Bull because my boy, I was low key tired. I didn't even think I was on stream today at all. But you know, anyway, yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Clouds Best Shinobi, and today I'm back with another reaction. Today we're gonna be reacting to why does Avatar 2 look so real? This video caught my attention because while I was going to sleep and I was looking for videos to look or like fall asleep to, I saw like you know how like when you're on your phone or like when you hover over a video or whatever, it starts playing a bit of the video, and that kind of started happening. And when I thought about it, I was like, Avatar 2 actually did look really realistic. Like it was hard to differentiate the CGI from reality. It was blended very well. Of course, I went in with the expectation that 90% of the movie would be CGI regardless. So that like I didn't even think about any parts being real. So when I saw this video, I was like, then I started thinking back on the movie. I was like, low key, there was a lot of scenes that looked realistic. So I kind of want to, you know, take a
There's
little
a
deep
shot
dive.
in the first Avatar teaser that came out that had the internet up in arms. Is it real or is it CGI? Even Corridor was diving
This
into
is the
this to
shot,
try
by
to
the way, that made
understand
me want to
what
watch
was
this
going
video.
on here. Your brain saw this moment and thought, there's no way that's CGI. And so everyone was debating, could it possibly be real? Is it CGI? Did they paint the hands blue? And the answer is a little bit more complicated than it
Well,
seems
it's a mix
because
of
it's
both.
technically a bit of both.
Yeah, I'm already knowing, bro.
And I
That's
think
how
this
you know
little
you get
scene,
it
this little
the
moment
right way,
is the best
when
example
you
of why
blend both.
Avatar 2 feels so real and looks so damn real. I talked about this in my review, but as you're watching the movie, you never really think about how it's fake. You're simply accepting the
See,
reality that
I
you're
just I
presented
literally
because it
just
looks
said that.
real at that time and in
You
that
don't
moment.
think about it
But
being
the more I've
fake
been diving into the behind the
because,
scenes on
like, it's a what's it called, a fictional world, so that automatically lets your brain like understand that you have to step away from reality when you're watching this movie. You don't watch this movie and look at the avatars as real people, So it's kind of like, yeah, you already go in with the expectation that it's not gonna look realistic. So when you start seeing that realism, it doesn't hit you. You just kind of enjoy it for what it is and how it looks.
Avatar 2, I think I've
If
narrowed
that makes
down
any
the
kind of sense
exact
at all.
reason why you feel that way.
There are different ways to make films that have CG characters. What we're interested in with performance capture is the totality of the performance.
The way James shoots these movies with his crew is they essentially get together in what looks like a giant playground and they start acting out all of the scenes and the actions that these characters are doing. Meanwhile, their faces and their performances are being captured in real time so that they can be projected onto CGI bodies and CGI environments. But all of these things that the characters do,
I mean,
they're
I know
actually
all this,
doing that.
so.
There's that famous example of Hugh Jackman acting out the voice for Wolverine in Logan, where he's actually running and he's
Bro,
scraping.
I ain't gonna lie, I couldn't be a voice actor, bro. I couldn't. It's so awkward for me. I could barely even want to be an actor for real, cause like it's like in my head when I'm doing something that's exaggerating. In my head, I'm like, bro, I probably look so stupid doing this, but in reality, it's like when there's people around you that are in that profession, they should automatically just be like interested in your performance, not how silly you look while doing the performance, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like when you want to be an actor or something like that, you need to break out of that mentality that the people around you are going to judge the way you look, and instead be like, I need to give the best performance possible to make this scene look good. And nobody will judge you for that, but it's like I have a thing inside of me that makes me feel like if I'm not that if I go above and beyond, I'm gonna look stupid trying to do it. You feel me? Yeah, I feel that. I want to see the new one so bad, bro. You should see it, bro. Avatar 2 is so fire, bro.
And he's scratching at things
It's a
to get the
long movie,
growl and
but
the
it doesn't
performance
even
out that he
feel long.
needs
I'm
for
not
the
even gonna lie
voice
to
of
you.
that character. So you take
It's
that
so
same
interesting that it
thought, getting
flew
that
by for
actor
me.
into that moment, getting them into that scene and what they're doing in their actions. You can't fake that just sitting in a chair being scanned and being, surrounded by cameras. You actually have to do that stuff to get the right performance.
Physical, emotional, facial, the eyes, everything. The actor creates the emotion. The actor creates the moment. It's our job to make sure that everything the actor did is preserved in their CG character.
You are very hard on them.
And not only does it help the performance with the actors, it also helps with the artists that have to animate all of those movements. Instead of trying to guess how the body maneuvers underwater, they film themselves underwater. So they're mapping all of this digital imagery onto actual performances. It's also a language shift. James Cameron will never call it motion capture. He calls it performance capture because that's the core of what makes these films so great and what makes it stand out so much.
Bro, that's literally why James Cameron is such a good director, bro. For the first Avatar and for the second Avatar, he literally had technology made specifically for his movies. Like, that is mind blowing. And Peter Jackson did the same thing with Lord of the Rings. Pretty sure he did. Peter Jackson. Why am I having a brain? I'm pretty sure he made Lord of the Rings. Anyway, or directed it. But yeah, he directed it. I'm thinking of the writer. That's why I was getting confused for a second. But Peter Jackson did the same thing with Lord of the Rings with Smeagol and the whole mocap, because like the only realistic mocap up until the point of Smeagol was Jar Jar Binks from Star Wars. So they kind of had to recreate the technology for Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. And that's why Smeagol looks so good, and they won so many awards for his motion capture, bro. Like, it was literally so fire. So I love when directors go above and beyond to like create new technology simply just to make the movie better. Like, there's directors out there that work with what they got instead of trying to. Obviously, it all depends on your budget and all of that, but like, I don't know, bro. It's just fascinating.
From most CGI in other blockbuster films. I think the only closest thing we've come to is Thanos in the Avengers movies. But there's plenty of examples in blockbusters where things start to feel rubbery and they don't feel real anymore because we don't actually have a reference. We don't have a real captured moment to base that CGI off of. This particular moment where Jake is just sort of tugging on a piece of leather in the water is a mixture of CGI and real life. We have real hands in a real pond, but then there's digital things that are added to the scene to create the entire moment that we witness. But the little intricacies of what you're looking at are real. And that's essentially how the whole movie was made. So the question becomes, is this really the future of filmmaking though? Is this something that we all want to be a part of? I think if you have a wild imagination like James Cameron and you're trying to create worlds that just simply do not exist in our world, absolutely. This is so fascinating to me that you can now essentially do anything you want that's in your brain can now be made into a film, into a piece of art. You're no longer constrained to locations, you're not constrained to time even. One of the great things about performance capture that James Cameron talks about is that coverage is sort of non-existent anymore. Because all you gotta do is capture that performance and then you can change the blocking.
And this goes back to what I was saying about yesterday about the whole like how movies are all kind of the same now. It's so weird how we have the technology to be able to create something that's literally impossible to see in real life, yet so many movies just copy each other, bro. It's like, bro, you have the tools to do things out of the box. Why are you making movies that have the same concept over and over and over again, bro? Like, there's only a few good movies that come out that are like different. Like, we went to see this movie called The Menu a couple weeks ago, and that was a different kind of movie, bro. It was a different take on horror. It was a completely different take in general. Like, it was just, and honestly, now that I think about it, I feel like what's that dude's name? Jordan Peele. I feel like he is the reason why movies are becoming so different now. His writing with, what was it? Get Out was his first movie. His writing with Get Out was so different that it shook Hollywood and started making people think out of the box of how they can start writing movies. Because up until Get Out happened, like every movie was the same, and it's kind of like we're in that same pattern now. Like, now everybody wants to copy Jordan Peele's movies and his kind of style, you know, and like his style of horror is becoming like the new set style of horror. I mean, and I'm not complaining about it too much simply because horror has always been the same for years. Horror movies aren't really horror movies at this point. Like, it's a ghost, this, that, and the third, or it's a serial killer, like whatever. Like that, like we've seen it all. We've been there, done that. It's no longer a horror movie, right? So what Jordan Peele did, his take on horror movies changed how we feel when we're watching, horror movies. So it's not all about just the jump scare and the scare factor of it. It's literally a mind game when you watch his movies, bro. You spend the whole movie trying to figure out what's happening, and as a person who loves puzzles, bro, that's why I'm so interested in his movies specifically. I love trying to figure out exactly what means what in the movie and which minor details are gonna play a major role later on in the movie, bro. Like, it's literally so much that goes into Jordan Peele's movies that I love, bro. And that attention to detail will always get me excited, bro. I don't know where I'm going with this conversation or why I started
Where
it,
that person
but yeah.
is in the scene, however you want. You can do the reaction shots. You can do everything you
I'm
need.
just chatting at this
all in
point.
one capture. Contrast that with the time and money required and resources to do that on location. Coverage alone is most of the day when you're filming.
No, I
a
was talking
movie.
about
I still think this type of
how
filmmaking though is
movies
still out of reach
are
for
the
almost
same these
95,
days.
99% of filmmakers out there. It's definitely a similar idea to how a lot of TV shows and movies are using the volume, where they have a projected background on screens. That definitely makes things easier, but it's not at the level of technical ability and time and money required with what James Cameron is doing with these Avatar films. But I definitely still think it's on the horizon, so it's something we should be constantly thinking about as we make our own films and TV shows. There might be a script that comes around that maybe right now can't be produced because it will cost too much money and the tech isn't that available yet, but as these movies continue to do well, and as long as people keep going to see them, this technology will get more accessible. It's just like AI. Everybody's getting access to AI now and being able to render any image that they want. Imagine when that tool is now built into something like Adobe Premiere, where you can just put in a prompt and say, I want that background to look like a New York skyline, because right now I shot it in Missouri. That is coming. That is inevitable. Don't get me wrong, I totally agree that there is merit to actually shooting stuff on location.
Bro,
with your
Dune was
actors in
such a
real
good-looking
world
movie,
environments.
dude.
Look at the stuff Denis Villeneuve does. He's had conversations with James.
I watched
trying
Dune
to
like 6
understand
times.
how
I'm not gonna
Cameron
lie, bro. I was
does it. How
addicted
does
to
he
that movie
put
when I
himself
watched it.
in that world without actually being
Not in theaters.
that
I
world?
watched
And
it
I
like
definitely relate with
I seen it in
Villeneuve in that
theaters and then I
aspect,
watched
because I'm
it on
someone who comes up with
HBO
ideas
Max
as
for
I'm
the
in
rest.
the room.
I have all my admiration because you are, I think, working in mostly in virtual environment, and I have no idea how you can survive, how you can do that, keep your creativity alive.
Spielberg as well often doesn't storyboard anything that he shoots. He's coming up with it on the fly. It's an organic feeling that you're in this space, you're in where this thing is supposed to happen, and that's where creative inspiration comes from. So if you're not good at visualizing things ahead of time,
Bro, that's literally how I am as a artist or just a creator, bro. Like, I can't write things. I can't describe things. I can't describe scenes. I can't describe places. I only know when it's happening in my brain at that moment. And when I get up to that point, I'm not good at writing things down and noting things like he just said. James, like, they don't use storyboarding, and everybody uses storyboarding to map out how they want the scenes to look. This, that, and the third. Bro, I'm not like that, bro. I'm creative enough to imagine it as I'm seeing it in my head at that moment, bro. I can't go months ahead of time and be like, okay, I want it to look like this and this, that, and the third. No, I can write the scene completely. Like, I could be like, okay, this actor does this, that, and the third with this person. They do this, then they do that, then they do this, then they do that. He flips over a couch. I don't know where the couch is going to be. I don't know where the walls are going to be, but I know I want that man to flip over a couch. I know that part, but when I get to that part and we're actually creating that part, then I could be like, okay, yeah, the couch should be here. You stand here. You do, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I feel like it takes away creative expression. I think the term is, when you write everything down, because it feels like when you write something down, it becomes factual. It becomes stapled into how it's supposed to be, because now your vision is kind of like going to be based off of that from now on. It's kind of like when you see something, but like, how can I explain this? let's say you see a design for a soda can, right? But you want to create your own soda can. You look at a design for a soda can, and now every time you think about a design for a soda can, in your mind, you're going to picture that other soda can that you already seen. So every idea you come up with is going to basically be a knockoff of that soda can that you've seen, instead of it being your own creative idea. So it's easier for you to be creative when you have nothing to go off of and you're kind of just going off of it in your mind than when you base it off of, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, like you said, it's very creative for you to just be free when you think about things.
Or being able to imagine what something is going to look like. I think this can be a terrifying way of filmmaking for you. But ultimately, there is no denying it works. If you go see Avatar 2, this is an immersion and a feeling you probably haven't had in a cinema before, especially from something that isn't technically real.
I find as a director, I'm much more attuned to the actors because that's all I have to worry about. I'm not distracted by the camera move or the extras in the background.
I'm not gonna lie, it's probably, I'm not lagging on my end, but then again, it could be my internet connection, so that might be what's causing the lag. But as for me personally, I'm not lagging. So yeah, I don't know if it's you or it might just be my internet. So yeah.
I'm just there for them. That's all I care about. That's all I'm watching. It's an amazing process. It's also the only way to do it.
So I'm curious to know what you think. Is this the future of filmmaking? Did Avatar 2 feel
Bro,
real
of course.
for you? Does this excite you? Or
It has to be the future of filmmaking, bro. Like, there's literally no other way to put it. Like, if you don't take what James Cameron did with making Avatar 2 and apply it to your own films, bro, you're gonna get left behind. You're going to get left in the dust. He created new technology, bro. Companies should be in line trying to get that exact same technology or even something better than what he made, bro. Like, obviously he didn't make it himself, but you get what I'm saying, right? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. See ya.